Good evening, Ontario. Welcome to IT Tralee. I'd just like to say thank you to my colleague Theo here before he leaves me, but I have insisted that he gives me his mobile number in case things go wrong. Anyway, the purpose of this evening is that I'll talk to you for about 15-20 minutes. If at any time you want to interrupt me with a question, please feel free to do so. And then it's over to you to ask any questions that you have. I entirely accept that you are thinking of going to study abroad. It's an expensive decision that you have to make. There's a lot of miles involved. There's a lot of time involved. You're going to be away from your family and friends for the best part of a year and so on. So you need to have full information before you can make that decision. And that's my job tonight, to give you as much information as I can. I can only give it to you, however, if you are actually asking the questions, the ones that you have on your mind. There's no bad question. Normally on an occasion like this, I'd have one of our Ontario students with me so that you could talk directly to them. However, on this occasion, I haven't, because our students are currently in exam mode and I couldn't ask a student to take time out. So if I just get on with the presentation and then we'll see the questions as they're going by. So IT Tralee is down in the southwest of Ireland. It's in a place called County Kerry. Tralee is the capital of County Kerry. County Kerry is the tourist capital of Ireland, where its natural beauty means that a lot of tourists want to come to us. The natural beauty, like you can see on the screen, are beaches or cliffs or seascapes, and an alternative view of the seascapes. This is one particularly interesting one. I think some of you may get a chance to see this in a cinema near you fairly soon. The most recent Star Wars, the one that's coming out on Friday in Canada, The Last Jedi, was filmed largely in County Kerry on an island just off from Tralee. And a lot of the scenes, therefore, that you can now see on the screen will be turning up in the Star Wars movie as well. So Kerry has long been a location for the American film industry to come over and use the scenery as the backdrop for it. So who are we? We're down here, as I say, in the southwest of Ireland. We're about a 3-hour journey from Dublin. There's access between ourselves and Dublin by train and by bus on a very regular basis. There's an airport just down the road from us, about 10 miles down the road. And the airport allows you, once you come to us, to get relatively cheap flights with a company called Ryanair to continental Europe. So rather than coming to Ireland and just staying in Tralee for the year that you're here, this might be an opportunity for you to explore the rest of Ireland, or maybe spend a weekend in London or Paris. It might be your only chance to get to see Europe, and when you're so close, we would encourage you to take advantage of it. The other thing that we would encourage you to take advantage of in IT Tralee is when you join us, our international office will put a series of travel trips organised for the international students. It'll be trips around Kerry. It'll be maybe a trip to Dublin or Belfast that went 2 years ago. And this is another opportunity for you to experience other international students. One of our students tells me that the best thing about coming to IT Tralee was not just to learn the culture of Ireland, but she got the opportunity to learn lots and lots of other cultures from dealing with other international students while she was here. IT Tralee itself is a relatively small college. We have 3,500 students. Now, the upside of that, of course, is that it means that the classes will tend to be that little bit smaller. It also therefore means that the lecturers will get to know you just a little bit better, and you will get a more hands-on experience while you're with us. We operate out of 2 campuses. They're both in Tralee Town. Now, Tralee Town itself is a relatively small town, about 25,000, 27,000 inhabitants. So it's easily a very manageable town. Our college is in existence for 40 years, and we offer the full range of courses from higher certificate through degrees, honours degrees and postgraduate studies. In our case tonight, we're primarily interested in the degrees and honours degrees. We have 3 schools of study: health and social services, health and social studies, business, computing and humanities, and STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. So as I say, we have 2 campuses. This is the newer of the 2 campuses. It's about 10 years old, and the vast majority of students from Ontario who join us will be joining us on the North Campus. In addition to that, within the next academic year, a large part of what is currently on the South Campus will have been amalgamated onto the North Campus, because we're in the process of building a new sports academy which will facilitate our health and leisure students, and we're also have recently got permission to build a new STEM school. So within the next 2 years, the two campuses will be amalgamated, and that has always been the ambition, to bring us all together onto one site. This is the South Campus where we all started out about 40 years ago, and after a while we grew out of it and had to move on to a bigger campus. Now, this slide simply looks at the European educational system. So a 2-year program in Ireland is called a higher certificate. It's essentially the equivalent of your diploma. A 3-year program in Ireland is called an ordinary bachelor's degree. It's the equivalent essentially of your advanced diploma. And then 4-year is referred to as a level 8, and it's a non-honours bachelor's degree. Now, if you get any of those levels within the European Union, your transcript is transferable to any other member state of the European Union, and therefore, because the European Union is recognised internationally, your qualification is equally transferable back home to Canada. So if you wanted to do some postgraduate studies anywhere else in the world, including back at home in one of your local universities, the qualification that you will get from Tralee will be as recognisable over there as it is in Tralee itself. Some student residences, there is something gone around now with this slide, but let's not worry about it. This is one of our typical student residences. It's in downtown. There are a number of residences available to students in Tralee. One of them is very close to the college. It simply means that it's about a 2-minute walk from the college, but it is not on campus. It is literally in the field next door to the campus with a walkway straight through. The bigger residences, however, are downtown, and it is entirely up to you what choice you make as to your preferred residence. Some of you will decide, I never want to miss a 9 o'clock class, so I'm going to go into the residence close to the campus. Others will decide, no, I might prefer to be near the activities downtown, so I'm going to go down there. The reality, of course, is, I'm sorry, I should mention there, by the way, is we don't do 8 o'clock classes. All our classes begin at 9 o'clock. That's the earliest class you will possibly have. Now, irrespective of where you actually stay, we provide a bus service to all the different residences throughout the morning, and then in the opposite direction throughout the evening to get you back home. The preference from the Canadian students tell me on an ongoing basis, their preference is to go downtown into a place called the Tralee Town Centre Apartments. The Tralee Town Centre Apartments is literally occupied by international students, and it means, they tell me, that you open your door and there's lots of international students already on the corridors, probably going in the same direction as you are. The typical residence will be an apartment with 4 people sharing, with a common living space, a common cooking space, but with private ensuite bedrooms. It will have all the facilities, Wi-Fi, TV, and so on. That is one example of a living space interior, not dissimilar, I'm sure, to the residences that you're in at the moment. By virtue of the fact, however, that our residences are not on campus, it means that once you move in September, you have access to our residences right through until you leave it again in May. So it doesn't close down just because the campus is closed down. So it will be available to you continuously throughout Christmas break, Easter break, and whatever other midterm breaks we might have. Again, this is simply a look at the kitchen, because the way student residences operate in Tralee is that from September through to May, the residences are available to the students. However, from May to September, they become available for self-catering purposes for the tourism industry. So therefore, they are always up to the highest possible standard to suit the needs of the international tourist. And the students are in a position to take advantage of the high quality student accommodation that will be available therefore. So I guess one of the major questions that you might have is, how much is this going to cost you? In IT Tralee, we offer you an inclusive package of €9,970. Now that includes your tuition fee for the 2 semesters. That alternatively, that's €7,500, and that is a huge reduction, especially for Ontario students, off our normal international student rate. But it is a national agreement between all the institutes of technology. The money you pay will also cover your registration fees, all your accommodation from September through to May. It'll cover emergency medical insurance for 1 year. We will pick you up at the airport on the first time you arrive. So if you come into Dublin, rather than trying to find the bus from Dublin airport into the city centre and then the train to Tralee and a taxi from there to your accommodation, we will have somebody there to pick you up. Now what the international office will try to do is coordinate it such that there'll be a number of students coming together on the same plane. In some cases, some students may travel with a parent or parents or friends or something at the beginning of September and becomes part of a holiday. If that's the case, they equally can get on the IT Tralee bus. It's paid for anyway. The important thing, however, to note is that in the accommodation, food is not included. And unlike on your own campuses in Ontario, we don't actually offer food plans as such. In terms of living in Ireland, some time back, I had a student from St. Lawrence College who was a married man and therefore came over, I suppose, on a budget. As such, he needed to be careful in how much he spent. And he did the analysis on a month-by-month basis. And what he established was that the cost of living in Tralee was about the same as the cost of living in Kingston. Some things were a little bit more expensive, some things were a little bit cheaper. I have done the same analysis with a shopping basket from Loblaws and compared with a shopping basket from a typical Irish food store. And when you look at it originally, it appears that Loblaws might seem a little bit cheaper, but then you have to add on the sales tax. Whereas in Ireland, when we quote a price, VAT, or sales tax as you call it, has to automatically be included in that price for legal purposes. IT Tralee is an approved college by OSAP, so therefore if you're currently getting assistance from OSAP, you will be entitled to retain that support while you are abroad. If you travel abroad as an international student, you apply to the guys in Thunder Bay and you go through a lengthy process to get ratified for your financial support. However, because IT Tralee is recognised automatically by OSAP, we are up there just the same way as if you were at one of the colleges in Ontario. So you will have the assurance from OSAP before you actually come to us. So you simply apply the same way as you applied this year or last year or whenever. We're also already cleared with the CRA, the Revenue Agency. And that means that if a taxpayer is supporting you financially through paying your fees and so on, that they will automatically be in a position to get some tax refund out of that without again having to go through lots of hoops. So just some of the things that some other students from Colleges Ontario have said about us. Number one, the suggestion is, I love the experience in Tralee. The transition to ITT was a lot easier than I thought it would be. If you have a chance to study here, definitely take it. There was a gentleman from St. Lawrence College. He was studying music technology. He came to us to complete an ordinary degree, the third year of it. He came from a diploma in St. Lawrence College into our third year, but he then subsequently decided that he wanted to stay on, and he stayed on to complete fourth year in his honours degree. He was able to do it from a diploma in 4 semesters. Most of our programs in IT Tralee have a work experience built into them in semester 6. So therefore, if you're coming into a third year of our program to study an ordinary degree, a BA or a BSc or whatever, one of the semesters will be in industry or in another organisation outside of the college. However, it isn't necessary that you have to do your work experience in Tralee. We encourage you to. We encourage you certainly to do it in Ireland to get a deeper understanding of the Irish culture. Some students, however, have decided that wouldn't it be better to go to Barcelona to do my work experience because I'm in tourism and there's a centre of tourism if ever there was one. So 3 or 4 of our students have gone to Barcelona for their work experience. Other students have gone back to Ontario and done their work experience at home. So it means that in that respect, if you're coming from a Colleges Ontario diploma into an IT Tralee degree program, you could actually spend half the year, the work experience half of it, back in Ontario, which obviously has lots of cost implications for you, beneficial cost implications for you. Another gentleman from Durham College joined us some years back, and he suggested that the overall the experience has been great. The welcome was one of the warmest and friendliest I've ever had. Tralee really puts the old saying that Canadians are the friendliest people on earth to a challenge. And that is something that you will find when you come to Tralee, because the classes will be small and the lecturers know you. Other students in the class will want to help you to make sure that you fit in. The staff will be friendly towards you. The people in the town will be friendly towards you because it's a town that has the experience of dealing with tourists, of dealing with international traffic for a long, long time. So we're basically used to dealing with the international students. You will find that there are some differences between what you currently do and what we do in Tralee. One of the biggest differences that students find when they come to us is that we will tend to put a heavier weighting onto a final exam than you do. As in, some of our final exams might be worth 70%, whereas you will typically have 10, 15, 20% several times throughout the semester. However, as one of the students told me, it doesn't matter whether it's worth 20%, 50% or 70%. If you've turned up in class, if you've done the work, you're going to get the benefit from the work that you have done. Just to very quickly look at some things some of the other students said. One of the students who's currently with us from St. Clair College, I'm enjoying myself at IT Tralee. I have lovely roommates and I found it easy to settle into life. I would recommend this as a good opportunity. This other student in early childhood care and education, she again came to us to study for 3 years, or the 3rd year of the program, and has decided now to stay on and is currently completing 4th year of the program. She happens to be an athlete and was nominated as the Club Person of the Year in the college last year. So if you have any sporting interest, sporting prowess, you will get an opportunity to participate in lots of clubs and societies on campus. Last week we had what was called International Day. And International Day simply means that the various nationalities from around that are on campus get a chance to put on a demonstration of the culture, sport, pastimes of their own, from where they come from. A group of Canadian students very enthusiastically attempted to teach everyone else how to play ice hockey. Now, obviously, we didn't have an ice rink to provide for them, so they had to do it on a video screen and so on. But people got lots of opportunities. So if you're coming over, don't expect to be able to play ice hockey. Don't expect to be able to play baseball. Don't expect to get Tim Hortons coffee. We don't have the ubiquitous Tim Horton over here. I just see a question there about the fees for in relation to KOM consultants. KOM operate out of Hamilton. They are our local agent in Ontario. They represent, from an Irish point of view, they represent ourselves, IT Sligo, IT Carlow, Waterford IT and UCC. They essentially, when we're not on the ground in Ontario, they act as our international office. So they handle queries and so on our behalf. Their service is entirely free to you. They get paid by us if a student comes over to us and signs on with us for the year. So any information that you require after tonight, you can feel free to direct it to KOM. If you need assistance with the application form, KOM will help you with that, as I say, at no charge to you. And just one final testimonial. I've worked as a cook for over 20 years. Never in my career have I encountered such a level of professionalism and excellence as in IT Tralee. The expectations are high. Most of the instructors come from a Michelin star background and so on. This is a student who was in culinary arts with us, He wanted to become a culinary arts teacher back home. He came to us to do the degree because he previously had a teaching qualification from back home. And in fairness, without blowing my own trumpet on this one, our facilities in culinary arts are fabulous. For a relatively small college, because we operate in a tourism centre, it means that we have a high demand for hotel management, for culinary arts and so on. So we have the facilities to match those. So just to quickly finish off, you can complete your application form online. As I say, if you need assistance back home, KOM in Hamilton will help you with that. So it's simply komconsultants.com. Applications are to be received by the end of May. Now, you may not, we obviously encourage you to apply a little bit earlier if possible, because it gives us more time to get things organized and so on. You won't necessarily have completed your exams at that stage. So what will happen is you get a conditional offer, conditional on you being successful in your final exams at your college back home. And then once you confirm that I have successfully completed the diploma or the advanced diploma, you will get the formal offer. At that point, you will be asked to, something unusual has just popped up here on my screen. I don't know, I don't have a chance. It's gone. You will get a final offer, and then you will be asked to confirm that you are taking up the place, and you'll be invited to make a small deposit, to pay a small deposit at that particular time. Outside of that, you can talk to the international office about when the rest of your fees are payable, and we tend to be sort of, shall we say, flexible in most things. Even the May deadline for applications, if you don't get your application in until June, your application will nonetheless be accepted. Has the TMDP program at the new International Hotel Training Centre been finalised? Can we apply to that program? Yes, Jay, not necessarily so far at the International Hotel Training Centre, but the TMDP program is running at IT Tralee on our own campus. The nature of the TMDP program is that a student who is employed in a hotel will get the opportunity to come to us for 4 weeks of the semester for an intensive program in 3 different modules. However, the other 3 modules will be taken, because typically, sorry, when I say module, I really mean course in your language. You will find that there are some different terminologies that we use. The other 3 modules are delivered in an online format or training on site, and a certain number of learning outcomes will be required for the hotel manager to take responsibility for, that you have achieved the appropriate standard. So if you're working in a hotel, it will be essential that you're not simply working in one area of the hotel, that you'll get an opportunity to work in the bar, you'll get an opportunity to work front of house, you'll work in the restaurant, you'll work in the stores department, you'll work in housekeeping, and you will become something of an expert in all those individual areas. Particularly important thing that has changed in the TMDP program is that, again, just like with work experience, it can be done at home. This particular program can also be taken from Ontario. You have to obviously be on site in Tralee for the duration of when the modules are being delivered, but that's for an intensive 4-week period, as I say. For the rest of the semester, you can return back home if you are already working in a hotel in Ontario. So the hotel, it doesn't matter where the hotel is, whether it's in Ontario or in Tralee, it's equally acceptable to us. However, a student coming over to us onto this program will have to be allocated to a hotel. In Tralee, that is not a problem. We have lots of hotels. If you want to decide, if you decide I want to work in a 5-star hotel, that's not a problem. Killarney, which is just down the road from us, has several 5-star hotels. If an international student is in TMDP, would they still require residence at the school in Tralee, or would they be placed in a hotel anywhere in Ireland? It will depend on the individual's preference as to where they wish to go. If they wish to be placed in a hotel in Cork, and lots of our students will take their work experience in a hotel in Cork or a hotel in Dublin or wherever. So that's not a problem. It's not essential that you stay in Tralee. If you're coming to Tralee and you want residence locally, you pay the €9,970. Alternatively, you don't have to pay the accommodation side of it if you're going to be staying somewhere else. And obviously, in many of the hotel settings, what we find is that some of the students, particularly an international student, might actually get accommodation in the hotel in which they're staying. Okay, so for further information, once we're finished here tonight, the website for IT Tralee is www.ittralee.ie. If you want further information on student accommodation, it's available at that website. Typically what happens is that students, particularly international students, if you're coming, say for example, we have a group of students in marketing at the moment from a college in Ontario. 5 of them from the same class came over. And they all shared accommodation together because this specified we'd like to be together. However, many students will come over, I'm the only one, I don't know anybody else, and basically you will be allocated an apartment. You may suggest that I'd like to be with some other people from the same program or other people from the same school or whatever, and the residence owners, the resident managers will endeavour at all times to accommodate the student in that regard. Not related to schooling per se, but do students typically bring their own cell phone plan to take up a plan in Ireland? Typically, they would take up a plan in Ireland. And the reason that they would do that, the students tell me, is because mobile phones are much cheaper in Ireland in terms of whatever plan you get. So, for example, one mobile phone company, it's a company called Tralee. If you have one of their SIM cards, so you can bring your own phone, change the SIM card when you get here, and then you pay them €20. And for that €20, you get free calls to all other 3 mobiles. You get unlimited data for 28 days. And it is only after the 28 days that the actual credit that you have on your phone actually begins to dwindle. So now there are lots and lots of other packages like that among all the other companies. I just happen to know 3 because it's the phone company that I'm with myself. But international students have always suggest to me that you should get a new plan once you come to Ireland because it's going to be cheaper. The third link, our bottom link on that screen, is simply a case if you want to have a look at what we look like, if you want to take a campus tour, if you want to take a brief tour of the town, to give you some idea of who we are, what we do, and give you a feel for it. Now, as I said, I know in my heart and soul that you have lots of questions. I'd like to see some more questions coming up here as we're talking, because I'm just at the last slide now. As I say, it's a big decision that you have to make. You have an email address there, that's me. And I promise you that if you ask me a question, I will get back to you within a few hours, as soon as we can, to make sure that you have all the information that you need. So at all times, feel free to ask whatever information you need, either directly through us or, as I said, through komconsultants.com. So guys, are there any other questions that you might like an answer to or an opinion on? Some of the programs that we currently have students on, most of the students that we have are in business studies. We have some in marketing, we have some in accounting, we have some in hotel management, we have students in culinary arts, we currently also have students in tourism and travel, as you saw from an earlier slide. Our health and leisure program tends to be particularly popular for students from your perspective on your FAHP program, Fitness and Health Promotion. They can come into 3rd year of our program and in 2 semesters get an ordinary degree. Equally, the health and leisure program tends to be popular with students from the massage therapy programs in your own colleges. In that case, typically the massage therapy will be an advanced diploma. And that advanced diploma means that you go straight into our fourth year. So in 2 semesters, you get an honours degree. We have students at the moment also in our music technology program. As I said, they come into our third year having done a diploma in colleges in Ontario. Typically, they will stay on. The interesting thing about the music technology program is that it sort of runs in parallel with some other programs, as in we have an animation program. And again, my colleagues in animation have done the appropriate articulations and have established that a graduate of a advanced diploma in 3D animation, 2D, 3D animation, digital animation, any form of animation are eligible for advanced entry into year 4 of our program. Because there is a perfect fit. But if you're in fourth year in one of those programs, you have to design and implement a final year project. The final year project is often a situation that you will do it in a group, but not necessarily with a group of students from your own program. So if you're, for example, in animation in Ireland, or Tralee has become sort of the European hub of animation. There's only 2 colleges in Ireland delivering degree programs in animation. That's ourselves and a college in Dublin. And the industry is literally crying out for people with an animation qualification. But if, as I say, if you're in animation on the final year of your program doing your final year project, you're likely to end up in a group with a student from music technology or a student from TV, radio, and new media. And therefore, you'll have 3 different backgrounds, 3 different related disciplines coming together to complete a single project, just like would happen out in industry. If a Canadian student wants to stay and work in Ireland beyond the allocated work visa, what will be required? If you come to Ireland and register as a full-time student, you will then have to register for what's called a GNIB card or a green card. So you will have full-time residency in Ireland for 1 year. That unfortunately is going to cost you €300. It's organised through our local police force. However, once you get that, and you graduate with an ordinary degree from an Irish college, you're entitled to stay and work in Ireland for 6 months. If, however, you graduate with an honours degree, you can then stay and work in Ireland for 1 year. And if at the end of that 1 year you decide, well, I'd like to stay on here because I got myself a good job, or I just like the place, or what have you, then yourself and your employer can make an application for longer term residency on the basis that you have a unique skill or a unique set of skills that this employer needs. So it is possible to stay on and work certainly in certain areas, and all you need is the Irish qualification to do so. Now, I mentioned that the GNIB card is bestowed on you by the local police force. However, there are some programs in our college where you need police clearance or Garda clearance. So the police force in Ireland is referred to as the Garda Síochána. And you need police clearance before you can become part of the program. That applies in things like health and leisure and the ECCE program and the social care programs. The reasons being that in those programs, you are likely to be dealing on a practical basis with children or vulnerable adults. So, for example, in health and leisure, one of the streams is called APA, Adapted Physical Activity. So it's leading a physical activity environment for people with physical incapacities. Maybe they're in a wheelchair or what have you, and therefore they would fit into the category of vulnerable adult. Obviously, in early childhood care and education, you're going to be dealing with children, particularly when you're out on work placement. Now, in that case, if you're coming into our ECCE program, you've probably already done a diploma in early childhood education in Ontario, so you'll probably already have police clearance. From there, what we encourage you to do is to bring whatever documentation you have. When you register in Ireland, in the college, you will be advised as to what you now have to do to get police clearance in Ireland. It can be done online, and the students, you will get that clearance within the space of about 3-4 working days at this stage. So it's not something that you ever need to worry about until you actually get to here, and then you'll be taken through the process. Typically, our year will start around the Monday of September 10, 11, 12, whatever that Monday is. However, the students, the international students, will be invited to join us a little bit earlier, maybe on the Thursday of the previous week, and you will get an induction, especially for international students. For the first day, you'll be all in together, so it'll be a chance to see all the other nationalities that are on campus. The second day, I will take the Canadian students aside to introduce you to some of the realities or the differences between what we do and what you might have done, so that you will be prepared for it. There are no major differences. We're all educational institutions. We just do some things slightly differently. As I said, one of the major differences that you'll experience is that some of our final exams will tend to be weighted a little bit more heavily than you might be used to. But again, that is something that is easily overcome. The other important thing is, yes, when you come to Ireland, you mightn't fully understand how the system works because it's a different college. But talk to somebody, talk to the lecturer, talk to the head of department, whatever. I have yet to meet a student, an international student, who had a problem that we couldn't sort out. Some of you will come over to us and you will have, the first day in class, you will have a lecturer who's going to describe, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of the semester. And you might be thinking, well, I think I've done that before. Well, that's fine. If you have done that before, you can apply for an exemption from that particular module. Now, to my mind, I will say, if it's in marketing, it will probably come to my desk and I'll say no. No, because you have done it in Ontario, you have done it in Canada, but wouldn't it be interesting to look at it again from an Irish perspective or from a European perspective? However, if you have all the learning outcomes already achieved, we're not going to put you through what you might call double jeopardy. So you will get an exemption, but you have paid the money. You will be invited to take up an alternative module, maybe another elective on the program, or a module from a related stream, if it is possible. And that's not going to cost you anymore. So you could get your qualification, my honours degree in marketing, and I also have a single subject certification in quality management or something. So you can do the exam and get an additional qualification, simply to pad out your CV, as it were. I was in Ireland. I had an opportunity to lighten the load, but I tried to do something else. And the employer is always interested in the student who has gone that extra mile, done that little bit extra, rather than looking to take the easy option, as it were. So that's the last of my slides. As KOM consultants have said, Tralee will be back in Ontario late January visiting colleges. I did get the list of the colleges that we're going to, but unfortunately I didn't bring it with me. But KOM will be advising you all of that anyway as we go along. We were there in October, end of October, November, and we visited a number of colleges. Obviously, it was a difficult time to be in Ontario because of the strike and so on, though we had a successful 2 weeks of visiting colleges, because the students who were genuinely interested in coming over made the effort to come in to meet us anyway. So, however, next time around, presumably everybody will be on campus. I was in Peterborough, I think it was this time last year, a little bit later, maybe last January. I was talking to a class of students, and one of them asked me, what's the biggest difference between our college and your college? And the only thing I could think of was, about 34 degrees Celsius. That is something else that you will find. But we don't do snow in Ireland, or at least very little of it. So therefore, you're not going to see a whole lot of snow. Temperatures last weekend plunged to -6. I think -6 is sort of a mild day in Ontario, probably at this time of the year, because I have seen them plunge an awful lot further than that. However, the other side of it, of course, is that the temperatures don't get very high in the summer. We have what's called a cool, temperate Western Margin type of climate. You will find that everything is a little bit uh, temperate from an Irish perspective. We have waterfalls in Ireland, beautiful little ones. They're not quite as big as your waterfall. We have mountains in Ireland, but they're not quite as big as your mountains. We have lakes, but there's no lake in Ireland that you cannot see the other side of, even from the longest point. Whereas if you stand at a lake in Canada and you can see the other side, you could well be looking into a different country. Just to put things into perspective, Lake Ontario, which is not the biggest lake that you've got in Canada, it would cover about half the size of the entire Republic of Ireland. So that's the size of the country. It's very manageable. If you come to Tralee, take the opportunity to visit other parts of it. Thanks so much for your time, sir. A great session. Tralee will be here January 22 to February the 2nd. Just waiting for confirmation back from St. Clair for February 2 visit. KOM should all venues confirm next week, so please contact us for this information. I presume, I'm hoping that all the guests can see that last comment that was made. It says, Gura Mahagath, sir. It's in Irish. It's a difficult language to pronounce on occasions, and as I say, I know that Jay has a Mayo background, so yeah, great for keeping up the Irish. So Holly, Jay, Katie, Tiffany, unless you have anything in particular that you want to ask, I'm going to take my leave of you now. Thank you. I will keep a lookout for you at Mohawk College. I think, KOM, that we are going to be at Mohawk in January, February. Maybe you can confirm that. Mohawk is January 26th. Thank you very much. So, Katie, between now and then, and I'm not sure obviously what program it is that you're currently studying or would love to get into, but between now and then, you're probably going to come up with lots of questions. Make sure you come up to the stand and ask them. Not just for myself, but there'll be other colleges there doing lots of similar things to us. 3, 4, 5 good colleges. Get an opportunity to get as much information as you can, and then go make the decision. But the important thing is that you're making a decision based on full information. I will be graduating from GAS diploma. I am not quite sure what GAS might stand for, Katie. I presume it's an acronym. Okay, KOM? No, General Arts and Science. Okay. Talk to us when we get to Mohawk, and we'll sort something out somewhere along the line. So, if that's everything. Now, as I say, if you have any further requests for information, KOM will look after you. So I'm going to say good night, and God bless you all, and I will see you in, some of you at least, in January when we're getting over there. In the meantime, have a happy holiday. We'll talk to you then.